Hey, what's up everyone, John the Geek here, and today I'm going to be explaining Intel and AMD chipsets, the latest and greatest right now for 2012. And so you can sort of use this as maybe like a buyer's guide for those of you who are considering building a new system or upgrading. This is what's available now, and also I'll try to mention a little bit that's coming out soon. And so this is a follow-up video to my last 2011 chipsets, Intel chipsets explained. Only this one's going to be a lot more longer because there's a lot more chipsets, and I'm also going to explain AMD's side of chipsets. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Intel's chipsets, and the latest that came out now is the X79 chipset. And so this is sort of like replacing the X58 chipset from the socket 1366, which was actually probably 2 years ago, 2010. And so this is the sort of latest and greatest enthusiast kind of chipset. It's a lot of new technologies compared to the socket 1156 and 1155. And if you want to catch up on that, the link to the last video will be in the description. But anyways, so the X79 chipset has a lot of great new features, stuff that most of the hardware that's out right now probably won't even tap into it, but at least it's future proofing. And I won't get into too much detail as to what those features are, but it's just capabilities like handling much more memory, and the bus speeds, basically the speed of which data will go through the motherboard from the PCI Express slot or the memory chips has been a lot faster. It's been increased a lot, so it gives you a much higher performance, right? So yeah, that's the X79 chipset, and I have loaded up here from Newegg a few motherboard models that I think would be good candidates for those of you who are thinking about buying. And I read a lot of good reviews for the ASRock X79 Extreme 7, and they just recently came out with the ASRock, where is it? Extreme 9. And so that one's a little bit pricier, but I'm gonna try to just only show, below $300 motherboards. And so yeah, this is the ASRock Extreme 7 X79, and then the next one, I'm always a fan of the Gigabyte, and the UD3 series is sort of the beginners kind of enthusiast motherboards. They will go to UD4, UD5, UD7 even, and of course it goes higher in price range, but to start out I like going with the UD3 models, and this is the one brand or manufacturer that I have the most experience with, Gigabyte. I love this company, and they make good products. It's also been Tom's Hardware Approved Award from Tom's Hardware Guide. It's a great site for finding out much more detail about the motherboard, or pretty much anything computer hardware related, right? So the next one we have here is the Asus. I like Asus because of the features that allow you to do stuff like overclocking. They're really great for that. They also have the UEFI BIOS, and that's like that fancy BIOS that lets you use the mouse, and it has a graphical user interface, a nice looking GUI. And you can watch this little video off of Newegg right here for more info on that. Here's the a little bit higher end UD5 from Gigabyte. That's $324. It's a little bit beyond my price range, but those of you who want to get into enthusiast class computing and overclocking and gaming, then that's the way to go. And then for the Asus side, this is their Sabertooth series. That's for the gaming enthusiast overclocking. They make higher quality heat sinks built onto the motherboard, and also capacitors for handling more power, more electricity, which in turns into more overclocking, right? And so right now for the X79 chipsets from Intel, there's only 2 CPUs, but real soon they're going to be releasing the Core i7-3820. So the 3000 series, anything with the 3000 in it, you can automatically assume that it's going to be for X79 chipsets, right? Right now, the generation before this, the one that I have, is the 2000 series, and I have the 2600K, and that's for a socket 1155, right? So these new motherboards is a completely new socket. It's a socket 2011, and it's a very big socket. So the pins on here, there's 2011 pins on this socket here, and the motherboard that I have is 1155. It's 1155 pins. So this is considerably bigger, right? And that's why you're able to do all kinds of new fancy stuff. So anyways, back to the CPUs. The CPUs right now, there's only 2, and they're very expensive. The high-end one is $1,000, way beyond my price range. Even the $600 one is beyond my price range, because together with this and a motherboard, you're looking at about $1,000, which is, you know, expensive. But they are coming out real soon with the Intel Core i7-3820, and that's going to be a $285 quad core, built on the same technologies as these higher end ones, but it's only a quad core. And so, as you can see here, they're both. This is the old Core i5, Core i7 2000 series CPU, and this is the 3000 series right here, and this is you can see it's a lot bigger, and this is a quad core CPU, whereas these Extreme and 3930, the 2 that's out right now, these are both 6 core processors, right? And yeah, and I would assume down the line that they might end up coming out with an 8 core, possibly. We'll see. But that's pretty much it for the Intel side of things. Let's see. This is slated to come out soon, within the first quarter of 2011, so in between now, January, and March, possibly April, right? So there'll be more info on this, and you could definitely check out this website, AnandTech, and watch the video. Alright, so next up we have the AMD side. Now AMD has just released the CPU, that's the Bulldozer FX series, and I've had a chance to use the FX 4100, although I do hope to start using the 8150 or the 8120 CPU from AMD. And so the chipset that AMD has, and they've got a wide variety of chipsets for many different people, or many different budgets, and so the one that their latest is the 990 FX series, and this is the motherboard that I have also, and hopefully there'll be more videos on this particular motherboard and overclocking the CPU and whatever. But essentially, I have a couple here lined up. Here is the 990X, which is sort of a little lesser in performance than the 990 FX. So those of you who want to jump into it, this is a good board here, but for a little bit more money, you can get the latest and greatest chipset, right? This isn't necessarily the greatest motherboard. I mean, it's a very good motherboard. Can do lots of overclocking, has a lot of features, that utilizes the chipset very well. And this is the AM3 Plus socket, right? So most likely you'll get a motherboard that's going to be AM3 and AM3 Plus compatible, but it won't be AM2 or AM2 Plus compatible. There's some motherboards that are AM2 Plus and AM3 compatible, but not most likely not compatible with AM3 Plus. Again, this is for those of you who are going to build a new system, and if you get this coupled with the new Bulldozer processors, you can see here that the way they named it was the AMD FX 4100 is a quad-core processor, the AMD FX 6100 is a 6-core processor, and then the 8000 series, 8120, 8150, these are 8 cores CPUs. And be mindful of the wattage, because there's various wattages that the CPUs require. So if you get a motherboard, make sure that it's able to use it's compatible with this CPU. These two are a little bit high-end or enthusiast, so it should handle the CPUs just fine, whichever CPUs you put in there. But here are a list of the AM3 processors that can also go into these motherboards, and you've got your choice here. Although the price, looking at the prices, I'd stick to the FX series Bulldozer CPUs. Alright, but that's not it for AMD. Right now, AMD also has another series of motherboards called the F1 socket. So the other one that I just showed you was the AM3 Plus sockets. Now they have another line of motherboards with a F1 socket, and these handle a different kind of CPUs. These CPUs are called the Llano CPUs, and they're actually, AMD calls them an APU, and that's for accelerated processing unit. And so what this does is that they've combined a CPU with discrete quality graphics, right? So they stuck on a pretty decent graphics chip for integrated graphics. It's a lot better than Intel's integrated graphics. So not only is it a CPU, but it also handles your graphics that you would require. Now, it's not like super high-end, but it's a lot better than integrated graphics, and you can do some decent gaming. I mean, some of these here come with Dirt 3, which is a DirectX 11 type game, and so for those of you who just want an all-in-one kind of package, then the AMD APU is the way to go. So these CPUs here can only go into the socket F1 motherboards, right? And in these motherboards, there's two different kinds of chipsets. There's the A75 chipset and then the A55 chipset. A few differences between them. I'm gonna link a video to some other dude explaining what the differences are. I don't want to get into it right now, but these motherboards are still capable of, you know, dropping in a discrete graphics card, but these are really geared towards either home theater PCs or just budget-friendly PCs that you want to build, but you want to have some decent graphics to handle your HD video content or multiple screens running HD video, and some light gaming as well, and it's very budget friendly. Hopefully I get to play around with one of these and test them out, but that's just another line of AMD that they're going towards this niche market, right? And all of these systems pretty much will take the same kind of RAM, DDR3, same kind of hard drives, 6 gigabit SATA 2 hard drives. Um, what else? They'll have USB 3.0. You can throw on pretty much any graphics cards, although the new Intel line socket 2011 is going to have capabilities of the PCI Express 3.0. There aren't any cards yet out for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. An explanation to what's out right now for 2012. Hope this video was informative for you. I know it was really long and kind of boring with me talking and whatnot, but just getting it out there so that some of the new people out there that's building a system can get up to speed or help you decide what it is that you want to do. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.